Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Here's the crackling fire sound effect I promised you for the fireplace I built some months ago. If you can't hear it, turn up your volume. Now I don't know how well you can hear that on YouTube. I'll play it again at the end of the video. But it sounds really good in the actual fireplace. It's as natural sounding as you could expect from something like this. I'm completely happy with it. This is the little MP3 decoder player amplifier I purchased. It powers up. You can either hardwire the power to it or run it through a micro USB. It has a micro SD and USB for your memory. It has audio output, plus, like I said, it has a 2-watt amplifier to drive a speaker directly. It has control switches so you can do forward, backwards, pause, play, that kind of thing, and adjust the volume. Once you set it, it will automatically power on to what the last settings were. In this case, it's automatically repeating and playing. When you start it up, it'll play the first audio track it finds on the memory card. This is a little 8 gig micro SD card I'll be using. The system defaults to the micro SD, but if it doesn't find one there, it'll go to the USB to see if it can find something there. It cost $10. Now I'm going to hardwire the power into the MP3 module. I don't particularly care for the micro SD connectors. They've proven unreliable in the past. Now I recorded this video with my Note 8 cell phone. I'm completely disappointed in the quality. I won't do it again. This is the speaker chamber I've salvaged from an old compact computer. It's an 8 ohm speaker, probably 20 years old, I think, maybe 15. Anyway, it has really good low frequency components and high frequency, which are the things you're going to want in the fireplace. You're going to want that roaring sound from the flame and the air being pulled in. At the same time, you want the higher frequencies of the snaps and pops. But it's going to be mounted on one side of the fireplace housing, inside the unit itself. You'll see in a little bit. And I'm just going to mount the MP3 player directly to it with double stick tape once I open up the fireplace and determine how all this stuff is going to get oriented. Once it's set up, you set it up, it's play and forget. You don't have to mess with it ever again. Here I'm just hooking it up temporarily. I want to hear what it sounds like. Now I recorded this in the lab using this phone. The problem is the background noises in the lab are so great you really can't hear the subtlety of the fireplace effect, the crackling fire that I recorded. So I didn't include that audio, but you'll see it later. Now this is the little PSU I bought from Amazon. It was $8, $7.99. It's 120 volt input, 3 amp output, 5 volts. It's a little larger than I needed for this, but it's probably the smallest chassis style power supply you can get. I was surprised to find one this small, but completely happy. It was perfectly suited. Now, like I said, I hooked it all up and tested it, but the audio was poor. Now I've taken the fireplace unit out of the fireplace and just set it up here to confirm everything is working as it should. And then I'll start the process of disassembly. First thing I have to do is take the curved glass front off. There's just 2 screws. It's pretty simple. They design it to come off easily so you can change the either the fake wood in the front, or you can put glass in there, or a variety of different things for the ambiance you want. All right. Now the top of the unit I have to take off, and in here is where the heater element and the control card is. What I'm going to do once you see the cover off is I'm going to mount the speaker on the right side of the unit. There's a nice big open area there. There's the heater in the center, and of course the control card on the left. The control card is where I'm going to tap in for my power. I just have to determine what wires do what. So I disconnected the card from the chassis and pulled out an extra switch, and determine these are the two wires that feed the 120 volts to the motor that rotates the effect wheel on the bottom of the fireplace. All I'm doing here is I'm just confirming that I have the correct connections. You know, when you're dealing with 120 volts AC, you want to make sure that you're plugging things in right. Now this is a special tap lug I have that I'm going to use to tap into those lugs on that card. Make it easy to maintain continuity. There's no external connection, so just pull it out, plug it in, and plug the other one back in. Nice and simple. The problem is that was the only one I had. So I had to actually pull this one out, and it's going to have to be daisied into the new PSU I'm putting in there. It's not a big problem, it's just not an ideal way or the way I would prefer to do it. Anyway, the blue wire represents neutral, the red wire represents hot or AC line. That black wire right there in my hand is the feed to the effects motor in the bottom of the fireplace. All I have to do is cut everything to length, strip it back, and plug it into the power supply. First though, I got to put this control board back in place. I come to find out I really didn't need to remove it, but I wanted to look it over and make sure everything looked good on the card. There's no tombstones or anything like that in the electronics. Make sure it was in good working order, in good assembled order, and correct anything I might have found. You know, these things are made in China, and the quality sometimes is lacking. Now this is a separate switch that you can turn off the heating element. So even if you use the remote to turn on the heating element, it will not come on. This switch is an override. Now there's your little PSU, and I was undetermined, or I was undecided where to mount it, but I decided this is the place I want to put it. It's convenient. I don't have to add any splices. All I have to do is tap into the wires that are there and plug them into the PSU, and this job is done. Again, that wire is the one that feeds the 120 volts AC to the effects motor. This is the 120 volt from the control card. And then of course the blue wire is the neutral that feeds them both. It's just screw terminals on here. You have a line, a neutral, and then you also have a ground lug. So there's a chassis ground. We'll hook that in next. There it is. And of course, finally we have the 5-volt feeds for the MP3 player. The beauty of this simple design is multifold. You got inexpensive components. Everything is self-contained. It's like building with Lego. You buy this module, that module, hook them together, and poof, job is done. Electronics today is a pretty cool world for little projects and things like this. Many years ago, if I would have designed something like this in the lab, I'd have spent a couple weeks building it. Today, it took me all of an hour to assemble everything. Now here I'm just putting double stick tape on the back. I cleaned any oils off the back of the metal so it would stick well. And I'm just going to affix it to the back of the fireplace chassis. There is no heat buildup in this thing, so it's other than the electronics, which is going to be very, very minimal. So this is a perfectly suitable way to attach that. Now we're going to go ahead and power it up and make sure, oh, I got to do my ground wire first. We're going to run this ground wire and tie it to the chassis. Again, these components are all Chinese made, so you want to make sure that everything is in good working order and don't take any chances with them. Most of the stuff is really good, but you really don't want to find out the hard way that you have a piece of junk. Now we'll go ahead and check the power, make sure we have no power when it's have to have no power, and we have power when we're supposed to have it. Now I turn the unit on with a switch, And I'm checking the PSU for AC. There should be none, and there is not. Maybe a capacitor discharge there. Now we'll turn on the remote, and we should see power at the PSU, 120 volts, which we do. And then, of course, we have the 5-volt feed to the MP3 player. Like I said, anybody can do this if you're careful. If you don't have a lot of understanding electronics, you might need a little help, but the stuff is so simple today. Okay, now again, I'm complaining about this cell phone camera, that it didn't work right, and I lost part of the footage. What it is, I mounted the speaker housing to the back side of the right side of the Fireplace chassis with double stick tape, and here we're just connecting up the speaker terminals to the speaker. Once those are tightened down, I will stick it to the surface with double stick tape, and it should be good to go. Put the micro SD card in, and I think it's time to test it. Here comes the smoke test. Now the little red light tells you the thing is powered up and functioning. It automatically defaults to the audio. There's the heating element, there's the new PSU, there's the control card, and there's the chassis ground. And there's the flame effect. Now this Fireplace automatically cycles through different colors, but you can set it for a default color if you want, and it makes it nice for atmosphere if you want green or blue or red or orange. Now we'll go ahead and put her back together. You can see the speaker on the right side over there. It's tucked in nicely. It fit almost perfect. Just put the cap back on, a few screws, and we're good to go. It's really a very simple modification. You didn't really change anything inside except tap into a couple of wires. So all we have to do now is put the front glass panel on and connect up the perimeter lights. They're just a small connector on the back side. The panel, like I said, is easy to remove. It's designed to be removable so you can change the type of material you have in front of the flame effect. Whether it comes with crushed or tumbled glass or rocks or a fake looking log. Now here it is reinstalled back into the Fireplace. I don't know if you can hear the crackling sound. Turn your speakers up if you want. And I have it set for just a red flame. Again, I don't know how well it sounds on YouTube, but it sounds terrific in person. It's just the right volume for the living room, the family room. So what do you think, guys? If you like it, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe. I got lots more cool projects coming this year.
Are you videotaping still? We're good? No, don't put your fingers in front of it, honey. All right, hit stop. All right, hit stop.